Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother Yahweh Call from Great Millstone, Orlando. This is just going to be a response off of one of the head brothers, one of my elders here at Great Millstone, Orlando. One of the heads, Isaiah, did a video entitled, "Is This About Jesus?" And this comes off of the behest of last night's fellowship, this past Sunday. During our teaching, you had these Evites, young Evites, come up. And it goes to show you that it was the Spirit of the Lord, because they walked up, they looked at the sign, and proceeded to walk up the street, but were compelled. They came back. And one of the young Evites asked, is this about Jesus? And one of the brothers, out of zeal, he said no. And from there, the Evites, they just walked off. And like the elder said in his video, the brother Isaiah said in his video, one of us could have stepped up and, engaged properly. So, it was just one of those things the Lord pretty much he set up for a learning experience, because to agree with the brother Isaiah, I'm looking back on this situation, analyzing it, because it bothered the brother. The brother was already bothered. And the fact that we let that slip, now what bothers me, it's been in my spirit. So, like I said, this is just going to be a response off of the elder's video, because this is something that I often have to remind myself, especially with me, acknowledging the fact about myself, that because my tolerance, I just have a very low tolerance. But as the scriptures go into how and why, I'm gonna go to this real quick in Colossians chapter 3. Colossians 3:12. Put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. So a part of putting on the fruits of the Spirit, one of those quality traits is being meek, gentle, patient, forbearing. And that's why, to put myself out there, one thing that I know about myself, because sometimes, a lot of times, other brothers around you will see certain things about you that you don't necessarily see about yourself. But there are certain things, if you're examining properly, if you truly examine yourself, there are certain things brothers shouldn't have to tell you. There are things that you should just know about yourself. So, one thing I could say about myself is, again, as far as my tolerance is low. Especially, you could say in this line of work that we do, if you want to say it like that, in this thing of ours, knowing that you're going to deal with a lot of hard-headed, bone-headed Negroes. Oftentimes because we read spirits over here. So, oftentimes you can just see right through people. You're going to get more people that talk shit, more non-believers than believers. So when you're doing this long enough, you're quick to sometimes just have a good night, and just go up the street. It's pretty much the response a lot of people get. It's almost rare that people come up and they sincerely inquire, which would seem to be the case in reference to what the elder was bringing out in this video. How, like he mentioned, we pretty much let that slip. So like I said, I know myself, my tolerance being low. We have to often remind ourselves people are not on the level that we are on. It's easy for us to get frustrated when people just they don't get it how you get it, if that makes sense. Because like I said, the Evites, they came up and the elder was bringing out the point in this video. More than likely, these young Evites, they never heard the truth. Because pretty much we're at a point where everyone and their mama and their grandmama, they know about the Hebrew Israelites. So the fact that they came up, more than likely they've never heard about the Hebrew Israelites. They were inquiring. Well, that's why the question was posed by the young Evite: is this about Jesus? And the brother was quick to no, and pretty much shoo them away. But that's the point that I'm making, because like I said, we can easily forget. People they're not on our level when it comes to what we know. And one thing that I often mention to brothers, younger brothers, is exercise discerning the spirit. Exercise discernment. Because again, you're going to have those, and it's going to become more and more common, new believers coming up and inquiring and sincerely inquiring and asking these genuine questions. So that's why, like I said, part of the fruits of the spirit that we put on is, like I said, exercising that discernment, being able to read spirits, and showing forth that meekness, that gentleness, if that's the case. Like I said, it's rare, but it does happen, to where it's almost rare, but it does happen, to where people that may have never heard this, they want to know. They want to sincerely know. And again, myself included, because like I said, I could be one of those. I forget. People are not on my level. People don't know. They don't know as far as what Yahweh Shemel Shah has given me. People are not on that level. And that's why we have to be. We have to deal with meekness and be gentle for those that because we are being raised up to be leaders. The Lord is teaching us how to deal with other spirits. We practice this, we rehearse this amongst each other. All right, that's why in verse 13 it says, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against you, even as Hamashiach forgave you, so do ye. So you see, of course, first and foremost, we rehearse this amongst each other, amongst the brothers, because the Lord brings all these different brothers from all different walks of life. And it puts me in a mindset because you talk about being gentle and patient and being meek. Because I know I haven't, I know there's been things to where there's been times where I've annoyed brothers. Lord willing, I haven't offended a brother. But for sure, I know there's been times where I just, brothers look down on me, and I just been one of those, that type of Jake. I know that for a fact. But the fact that brothers have been patient and been gentle, and I know, being that I'm in a position, not to say I'm on either level, but dealing with brothers that are younger in the faith, and being in that position to where it's just like, you got to be patient with brothers. You got to forbear one another, because this thing of ours is getting ready to transition. And like the head brother Nahoya always tells us, the believers are coming. So that example, at least for me, it was definitely an eye-opener. Like I said, just remembering that these Jakes are going to be coming up, and they're not on our level. They don't know what you know. They don't know what we know. And we have to deal. Brothers will be so quick to just shoot Jake away, but like I said, at least for me, it was an eye opener. I'm gonna go to this. What's that? First Thessalonians. The scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing, walking with wisdom towards those that are without. And like I said, man, just assessing the situation, looking back on it, because the brother mentioned it in his video. Another brother could have stepped up and said something. Read this in First Thessalonians 5 and 14. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men. So there it is again. Exercising the discernment of the Spirit. And from there, let the Spirit flow. Let the Lord work. And like I said, brothers are so used to the shit talkers, people talking shit, scoffers, and so on and so forth. But don't forget the fact that there are going to be sincere believers coming up, sincerely asking questions. We can't forget that part. And if that's the case, we have to deal. Because like the brother said, we could have possibly shut the kingdom up. Everyone is pretty much to a point now where they've either heard this word and they've been marked. But like the brother said, to those Evites, they didn't even get the opportunity to hear the word. at least from us. Now, the Spirit will have it to where obviously they'll hear it again, maybe from somewhere else, whatever the case may be, however the Lord plays it out. But like the elder brother was saying, the fact that we let that moment slip, like I said, man, I had to agree with the brother, man, because now that's bothering my spirit. And I definitely could have stepped up and said something, but I didn't. Because like I said, like I keep reiterating, we're so quick to, people coming up talking about Jesus. We're quick to just we don't care about that. We don't want to hear about no Jesus. But again, we have to remember, man. We have to remember. Everyone is not on our level. And exercising that discernment, which we didn't do. Now you got two of us. That shit is eating at both our spirit. But I'm gonna grab this. Was that 2 Timothy? I was just there. And not to make it about the whole dealing with Isaiah 4:1. Because I often talk about dealing with the whole subject of Isaiah 4:1. I already get aggravated thinking about it. Because like I said, my tolerance is low, and I'm quick to just, a lot of brothers are such as myself are grumpy old men in the spirit. But hey, when it comes to it's above us. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than how we feel. It's bigger than our emotions, and we have to deal. And especially when it comes to new fruit, when it comes to fruit, man, fresh off the boat, straight out of Christianity, whatever the case may be, straight out of Islam, because there's no telling, where the Lord is going to be bringing these fruits from. These believers, they ain't going to be telling where they're going to be coming from. And I'm talking about the ones that are predestined to make it, the ones that are part of that the ones that are part of that 1/3, the innumerable multitude. The Lord's going to be bringing them from all walks of life. So you're going to have those 1/3, man, coming up straight off Christianity, straight out of Islam, straight out of being a Muslim, so on and so forth. And like the Lord said, if they hear you, they hear me. If they receive you, they receive me. So Lord willing, being of that number, if we are of that number, hey, brothers got to be ready to deal with that aggravation. That's why I mentioned the whole Isaiah 4:1. How I picture it, there's going to be a lot of aggravation. And that's just dealing with the women. That's not even dealing with the men, women, and children. So just imagine that, all these spirits the Lord's going to be bringing from all walks of life, and brothers have to deal. And brothers got to remember patience, man, gentleness, meekness. 2 Timothy 2:24. And the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patient. So that's why the Lord has us out there on the highways and byways and doing these videos to teach, to feed the flock, feed my lamb, or feed the Lord's lamb and sheep, being the he-goats. All right, those leaders. And with that being said, we have to exercise the fruits of the Spirit. We have to be ready to teach. Patient, showing forth that meekness. Matter of fact, verse 25, it says, in meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves. So, and think about it. Because like I said, I know there's been plenty of times brothers looked on me like, man, this nigga, this brother here, I know there's been plenty of times brothers, you know. But brothers have exercised patience and showed me that gentle, that spirit of Yahweh Shai, man. You know, brothers have definitely exemplified that towards me. And me being in position, dealing with brothers and just in general. Because I always talk about, this thing of ours, it transcends the brotherhood. And that's why people see it. That's why people can feel there's something different about brothers. Because it transcends the body. It transcends the brotherhood. Because we embody this. So it just becomes who we are, a part of who we are. It says, in meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves. So again, remembering that at one point, because listen, and that's why we tread a fine line, because we don't know how the Lord feels about us. Here it is. And every brother has their, that thing where it annoys another brother or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But don't get it twisted. You might be looking at another brother. Oh, this brother always, but you don't know how the Lord feels about you. You don't know how the Lord feels about you. So, hey, as long as the doctrine's on point, the hell with all that other shit. As long as the doctrine's on point, man. But remembering that who we were before we woke up to this truth, and how we once walked in the ways being alienated, being Gentiles, being in that state of mind, being in that darkness. So how much more when it comes to the flock and these new believers? And as the more and more the Lord begins to wake up the followers, the believers, and they're gonna be flocking to brothers. Again, if we be of that number, we have to remember that was once us. We were there, and not these jakes are not on our level. The believers are not on our level, so we have to remember that and exercise patience, gentleness, that long suffering. And we seek this from Yahweh B'Shem Shai, so that's why it's all the more important to exercise these things towards the Lord's sheep. It says, if God peradventure will give them repentance I'll read 25 again. In meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves, if God peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth. And listen, because you deal with who you deal with until the Lord gets them out the way, man. You deal and you continue to deal until the Lord gets rid of them. If you're dealing with a no good nigga, then because you might have a brother in the camp, and that brother is constantly getting counseled. It just seems like the brother can't get right. Well, you keep dealing with the brother until ultimately, the Lord gets rid of him. That's just how it is. You just continue to deal until the Lord removes the factor. It says, and that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. So just remembering these things, all right, and taking these things into consideration. Yeah, Jay come up talking about Jesus Christ. We don't want to hear that shit. Even uttering those names for brothers is like nails on a chalkboard. But for edification's sake and for the flock's sake, to the sincere believers, people sincerely asking questions, things of that nature, we have to deal, and we have to remember that. It's something that we didn't exemplify, and to, like I said, man, to be in agreement with my big bro, man. That shit is gonna bother me as well, and that shit's gonna fuck me up too. But it's a learning experience. May Yahweh B'Shem Shai have mercy, and on to the next one. But just to respond to the elder, that shit fucked me up, bothered me. I definitely could have stepped up and said something. I didn't. But it is what it is. On to the next one, Lord willing. Hopefully This is edifying. All praises to Yahweh Shai. Shalom to you. Hopefully that